scoring touchdowns with strangers, playing musical chairs with NFL teams, and going after a career that's almost literally out of this world. Put on your spacesuit. We're exploring the hidden deets about Joshua Dobbs. Joshua Dobbs' 2017 entry into the NFL did not get off to a great start. A fourth-round draft pick, Dobbs was selected as a backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Given that the Steelers' starting quarterback was superstar Ben Roethlisberger, Dobbs spent most of his first NFL season on the bench. Standing in the shadow of one of the league's top QBs didn't exactly provide him with a whole lot of NFL experience. In fact, during his first 2 seasons with the Steelers, he threw a grand total of 17 passes. As he once told the Washington Post, "I understood my journey might be a little unique." With no chance he'd surpass Roethlisberger or even be given the opportunity to try, Dobbs settled in and bonded with the star QB. When the Steelers' playbooks switched from pages and binders to tablets, the technologically challenged Roethlisberger asked Dobbs for help to figure it out. Dobbs soon became his confidant, with Roethlisberger telling the Post, "I trusted he wasn't going to just say what I wanted to hear. He was going to tell me what he saw. It's invaluable to have a guy like that in your corner and behind you. He wanted to play, but he wasn't trying to take my job." After spending 2 seasons with the Steelers, Joshua Dobbs was traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was then traded back to the Steelers, and then, in 2022, to the Cleveland Browns. That same year, he was traded to the Detroit Lions, and later that year went to the Tennessee Titans. In 2023, he was traded back to the Cleveland Browns and then to the Arizona Cardinals, who traded Dobbs to the Minnesota Vikings in October 2023. Add all that up, and Dobbs has played for 7 different teams over the course of 7 NFL seasons. Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell envisioned a bright future for Dobbs in Minnesota, who said in a SiriusXM radio interview, "I think he's a very intelligent guy, which gives us an opportunity to get him in here in a short amount of time and try to prepare him for any snaps when that may occur." Instead of getting rattled, Dobbs chose to treat his experience with each team as a chance to learn, grow, and improve, telling the Washington Post, "Each stop, each opportunity, my role has grown. I kind of accepted that was going to be my journey. Whatever opportunity was thrown my way, no matter how big or small, I was going to make the most of it." After the trade that brought Joshua Dobbs to the Minnesota Vikings, coach Kevin O'Connell didn't have to wait long to see how well his new acquisition would fare on the field. Just 5 days after Dobbs was traded to the team, starting quarterback Jaren Hall was injured during the first quarter when the Vikings took on the Atlanta Falcons. Dobbs was sent in and more than delivered the goods. Not only did he complete 20 out of 30 passes he made, he threw a spectacular pass to wide receiver Brandon Powell that resulted in a game-winning touchdown, with just 22 seconds of gameplay remaining. When the dust settled, the Vikings had achieved a narrow 31-28 victory. Powell said of Dobbs after the game, "He's smart as hell. To be able to come in here and learn that offense that fast and go out there and call them plays, he's smart. That's a smart dude. He was paying attention, came in the game, never practicing, and we won the game." In fact, after the game had ended, Dobbs admitted that he still hadn't learned most of the other Vikings players' names, confessing, "If we had to pull up a roster of names, I'll be a bad teammate today." Joshua Dobbs' second game as the Vikings QB was equally impressive. When the Vikings took on the New Orleans Saints, they experienced an even more decisive win, 27-19. In doing so, Dobbs set a new NFL record. During that first game, he gained 158 offensive yards. In the second, he racked up another 312. As a result, Dobbs became the first player in the history of the NFL to accumulate more than 400 passing yards in any player's first 2 games with the team. Addressing his back-to-back wins and his record-setting performance, Dobbs was characteristically humble in recognizing that 2 games do not make up a season, telling ABC News, "Whatever happened, you have to put that aside and go on to the next one. You show up on Sunday, you don't play well, no one cares what you did last week in Atlanta. They care about what you did this week in Minnesota." While Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell has repeatedly praised Joshua Dobbs' intelligence, those smarts extend far beyond the field and all the way to outer space. In fact, when he's not playing football, Dobbs is an aerospace engineer who interned with NASA in 2020 and 2021. Working on NASA's Artemis program, Dobbs proved himself the real deal. As Scott Colorado, director of engineering at the Kennedy Space Center, told CBS News, "He definitely pulled his weight as an engineer. He showed us some promise, and we'd love to see him again once his career plays out." Being able to divide his time between aerospace engineering and professional football is no mean feat, and to be able to do it at the level that Josh Dobbs has is nothing short of astounding. As Dr. David Forliti, an engineering professor with the University of St. Thomas, told Sports Illustrated, he would have to be brilliant in order to pull that off, but also so organized and efficient with his time so that he could keep all his ducks in a row like that. It's just not something that most people can do. For Dobbs, aerospace engineering isn't just a passion, it's also where he envisions himself after his football career concludes. includes. He explained in an interview with the NFLPA that the steps he's taken outside the NFL have laid the groundwork for what he believes will be his future career. Dobbs' unique double life as an NFL quarterback and aerospace engineer earned him the nicknames Pastronaut and Astro Dobbs. The latter, in fact, has been around for a while, long enough that Dobbs even has his own Astro merch available for sale, including branded baseball caps, hoodies, and more. One of the highlights of Joshua Dobbs' life that didn't take place in a football stadium occurred in 2021 when he spoke with astronauts stationed aboard the International Space Station. While he was still with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Dobbs chatted with NASA astronauts Commander Victor Glover and Colonel Michael Hopkins, both of whom had been college football players, as well as Japanese astronaut Soichi Noguchi, who was a wide receiver when he played football for the University of Tokyo.
You guys are living out all of our childhood dreams right now, so we definitely look up to you guys and appreciate all of your hard work.
As various companies increase the opportunities for wealthy non-astronauts to journey into space, Dobbs said on the Dave Pasch podcast that he was hopeful he'd get to go up there eventually, saying, "It's on my bucket list. Obviously, that's a huge decision to make, but it would be cool. If Dobbs does someday venture into space, he won't be the first NFL player to make it there. That honor is held by Leland Melvin." After retiring, Melvin applied for NASA's astronaut class and was accepted. He wound up embarking on 2 missions aboard the Space Shuttle Atlantis and even spent some time on the ISS. Given the immediate success that Joshua Dobbs experienced with the Minnesota Vikings, an obvious question emerged. Why didn't he have similar experiences with the other teams for which he played? Dobbs answered that question nearly a year before he was traded to the Vikings. Speaking at a Tennessee Titans press conference after his first ever stint as starting quarterback, Dobbs was asked if the reason he hadn't been able to show off his skills previously was because he didn't have the opportunity. Dobbs confirmed that was the issue.
It's definitely been tough because especially when you pour everything into it and you don't get the opportunity is always tough.
Of course, serving as backup quarterback to Ben Roethlisberger during his seasons with the Steelers offered scant opportunities to showcase his own skills. The flip side, however, was that he was able to learn from one of the greats. Roethlisberger later told the Washington Post, "I felt bad because he kept going to bad football teams and never getting a chance." Joshua Dobbs holds the rare distinction of being only the second NFL quarterback in the history of the league to start for 3 different teams within the same calendar year, and the first to hit the field with less than 3 weeks of prep time with each of those franchises. As Dobbs' agent, Mike McCartney, told the Washington Post, "It's not like you go to the library and say, 'How do I handle this?' He's the one who's writing the book." Achieving that didn't come without a lot of hard work. Even as a college quarterback, Dobbs was committed to improving both his own abilities and those of his teammates. For all of Dobbs' incredible achievements, the trait that comes through immediately in interviews is how humble he is. Bragging about his achievements, it seems, is seemingly not in his DNA. As Dobbs' mother Stephanie told the New York Post, "It wasn't something my husband and I attempted to teach him. From our perspective, it just seems to be innate in his personality." When Joshua Dobbs called in to speak with astronauts orbiting Earth on the International Space Station, the purpose of that conversation was to promote the importance of STEM education in classrooms. Speaking with Innovation and Tech Today, Dobbs pointed out that the opportunities available to those who focus on STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, were vast and constantly evolving, saying, "It's a really powerful time to be involved in the STEM world, and I think if you just pursue your passions and find a degree that helps you pursue those passions and impact the world, then I think the sky's the limit." Meanwhile, Dobbs' boss at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, Scott Colorado, was hopeful that the NFL quarterback's sudden surge in popularity since joining the Vikings could bring about an increased interest in STEM.
When engineers are cool and rocket scientists become popular all of a sudden, not that we weren't popular, but we don't have too many household names out there.
One of Joshua Dobbs' most defining physical characteristics is his bald head. Unlike many athletes who shave their heads for a smooth look, Dobbs' lack of hair isn't due to a style choice, but is the result of alopecia. Dobbs was first diagnosed with the condition, which causes hair loss, when he was in the 3rd grade. It's something he's lived with for most of his life and has learned to take in stride.
Everyone's going through something, right? Like for us, alopecia may be a little more visible to outside people looking in, but everyone's going through something.
Interviewed by NIH Medline Plus magazine, Dobbs admitted that his alopecia had sometimes been met with cruel taunts and jibes from opposing players and fans, saying, "That was tough, but it taught me the ultimate form of self-confidence. You can look in the mirror and know that the fact that you can't grow hair has no impact on what you contribute to your team, your friends, or your community." Ultimately, he came to realize that his lack of hair offered no hindrance in his quest to achieve the goals that he'd set for himself, saying, "Keep in mind that all of your dreams can be accomplished without your hair. Alopecia shouldn't stand in your way."